here. We're here.
Y'all. Oh my gosh.
This is crazy.
In this space?
Yeah.
Together.
Together, finally.
We're gonna pretend that we're at a studio. Like we were. That's the energy.
Actually, we're all at the same studio, and we're just being extra.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just wanted to be on separate cameras just for fun.
Because we're theater kids and we love attention.
Hey, thank you.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
All right. Hey. Oh. All right. Hey, everyone. So we are here today for our new podcast. Woo!
Yay!
Yeah.
They can't see us dancing.
Oh yeah. They can't see us. What? Anyway, if you can't see us, we're dancing right now. But anyway, my name is Isaiah Moore. If you don't know who I am, I'm here with Natalie Fisher and Taryn Lambert, and we are starting this new podcast called General Admission, and we are so excited. Today, we just want to introduce ourselves as the hosts of General Admission, and let you all get to know us and basically answer why we're doing this podcast. So without further ado, Terrence, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and everyone in between. I'm Lambert. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am born and raised in Indianapolis. I do live in New York City currently. I've lived here for almost 2 years. I moved after graduating from IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, with my degree in journalism and African American studies. But I've been doing theater all my life. The first thing that brought me to theater, I always tell this, it's on my bio on my website. I saw The Little Shop of Horrors when I was 5 years old at North Central High School, when my brother, Kenny, R.I.P., my favorite person ever, was the voice of Audrey 2. And literally from that moment, I was just like, that's what I want to do forever. And here we are pursuing it. It's so funny because we still have the VHS tape of when it was because that's back when you would see shows on VHS. And at the beginning, before the show, you just see the back of my head with my grandmother just getting ready to just be enthralled. So it's just like, oh. So yes, theater to me has been life. I have performed with Summer Stock Stage, Eclipse, Booth Arcade to Civic Theater, Footlight Musicals. That's a little bit about me. So excited to get this started.
Thank you, Terrence, for sharing. Yes. Natalie.
Oh, hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. I pulled up my silly little notes. I won't stick to them, but my name is Natalie. I am from Lorain, Ohio, which is northern Ohio area. I moved to Indianapolis to go to school for theater at Butler University. And I've been performing ever since I've been 5 years old. Basically, the story of how I started getting into theater was that my parents were in community theater before I could do theater. Around the age of 4, they were doing community theater, and I'd go see their shows. And it was a very non-committal community theater where you could go to rehearsal every Friday, and it's a couple months and then you do the show, that kind of stuff. And they were in Annie Get Your Gun, and I remember going to see Annie Get Your Gun. And my dad was a juggler. I think there was a circus part of it. I don't know. It's Annie Get Your Gun, so whatever happens, I suppose, in that scene. But he was juggling down the aisle, and he dropped one of his juggling balls on purpose just so he could pat me on the head. And it was very cute. But my mom and him were both in that show, so that was really cool to go see them. And then I was like, well, I want to do theater with them, because they were just, my whole life they've been theater nerds before I ever was. So that's that story. And then I also went to go see a Lion King and saw a child in one of the elephant costumes. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, if they can do that, then I can do that. Like they're the same height as me. So obviously. So yeah, that's how I started like getting into theater. And then I would do community theater. And then I was trained at a couple theaters in Northern Ohio, a couple little theater camp situations. And then, yeah, then I moved here and I've been doing professional theater in Indy. And yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. I'm a theater performer, director, theater educator, and
Great.
one of my biggest goals is to combine social activism and theater. It's very important to me.
Yes.
So yeah, I also think they just mix very well together, and I can't wait to have conversations about that on our pod. Yes, thank you all for listening today. Isaiah?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing. So if you don't know, again, my name is Isaiah Moore. My hometown is here in Indiana, born and raised like Terrence. And then I went to Butler University where I met Natalie, and I double majored in theater performance and psychology. I have been performing all over central Indiana at the Phoenix Theater, Indiana Repertory Theater, Indiana Shakespeare Company, Carmel Civic Theater, with our Summer Stock Stage Company, and with the alumni program Eclipse, and more. Today, I continue to perform on stage and off stage voice acting and on camera. And I am a home-based caseworker with family and community partners. I wanted to answer the question, what brought me here today? And that is the desire to enhance my knowledge of theater, of the theater world, by starting conversations, collaborating with like-minded artists, like my besties here. And I'm so excited to start this podcast with my friends. And to hear from all of you who are watching over time, and to see what interests you, and start some dialogue. Something that I really enjoyed that you two brought up was your first start in theater, and I had not thought about that until now. And I was just actually reminiscing on being a kid and going to the Murat Theater here downtown Indiana, and my mom, who I love so much, would take me to Sesame Street, who would come on tour here, and they would have these beautiful musicals. And I remember Elmo coming down one of the aisles and like shaking my hand. I was starstruck. I was like, "This is Elmo, guys! I made it! I made it!" But it was so. I just remember feeling so free and like, oh my goodness, people are having the time of their lives here. There was, cannons exploding at the end of confetti, and things raining from the sky, and just, it was so magical. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the space I want to be in forever. And then it was until high school and college where I found that I could make an emotional impact on other individuals. And that solidified what I feel is my journey in this life, is to connect with people on that emotional level in that magical way that you can't get anywhere else on stage or on screen. But on stage is something different with a live audience, and we'll talk about that more. But anyway, wanted to ask you two, what was the idea for this podcast? Why are we here? How did we get here? Who wants to tell that story?
Let's start. I feel like Terrence made the biggest journey. So I think Terrence can start, and we'll go in the order of operations of how we found out.
We got here because Indiana Repertory Theater, which is like the cream of the crop, like professional theater companies in Indy, was having an open call. But so they normally do an open call every single year, but this year they had opened it up to a lot of the other equity houses in the city. So I literally texted Natalie and Isaiah, and I was like, y'all, should I get a plane ticket and just like come and audition for the season just because?
And
Yes.
because
And
I'm an enabler, I will always say
Yes.
yes.
Yes,
Especially
exactly.
for parents to fly in every
Yes,
time.
and because I don't know how to control spending my money, I just got a plane ticket and said, let's do it. And this was before they had like announced their season, so like we were just like any audition or any chance to do an audition or like be seen is always just do it.
Yeah.
And they had their season, and I had ended up missing my flight to go, and because Natalie and Isaiah, we were all supposed to get together and like go through our monologues, go through like our audition, and just give each other feedback because as friends do. And I had missed my flight, so I literally had to hurry up and change terminals, go to a completely different airline, and book a flight to get there the night of. So that day was wild. And then finally got into Indy, and we got together, and we were just like, I obviously hadn't seen them in so long, so we were just catching up, and just that conversation, y'all. That conversation was honestly probably top 5 all-time conversations I've ever had. And just I was like, y'all, like we should do this. Like we should have a podcast or something to where we can just talk about the industry, talk about theater, and just talk about theater from a marginalized voice, because we all have so many experiences where we can just draw and be like, okay, yes, like we love theater, but also there needs to be some work done. Like there needs to be conversations to be had. I think that was kind of the basis for this and why we're here today. So
And I loved like going over our monologues in like Isaiah's living room, just like getting up and doing it. I think it's so important to like have that community. And I think
yes,
that was a big part of why we wanted to start this, is because we're like, wow, like in theater, you usually like you have yourself and you're your own manager, but you have to have your community. Like you have to have
Yes.
the people that support you, want to like run sides with you, run like your auditions, and like have these conversations, because like that's how things grow and change. And I think that's what, I mean, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I think for me, that's what I said. Well, I would love to start like a podcast where we're talking about these things that I feel like a lot of people have opinions on in similar ways, maybe in different ways, you know, than us. And I just like love to learn more about like what we all feel about this industry that we kind of have a privilege to sometimes not love and sometimes love, like, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember when you two came over, and on top of us three, we have so much to say.
So much all the time.
On top of that, this is honestly a very selfish way of us to just get to talk to each other more.
Yeah, like
Really?
that's the biggest one.
right.
We honestly, if you're watching this, good for you, I guess.
Yeah,
No, thank you actually for being here.
you're welcome.
Right.
But we actually really do like hearing ourselves and talking to each other. And we're really, if you have not found your people where you can state an opinion and know that you're being listened to and challenged on sometimes even, then you
Yes.
need to find those people, especially if you're in the theater world. You need safe critics in your circle. You need people that are going to try to make you stronger and better, and be on your team when you're doing, you know, you on it. You doing the right thing. You slaying that moment, okay?
Yes. And I think that's a great point too, because before we started today, we were all talking about, well, I think, Terrence, did you bring up how sometimes in theater, like you have weeks where you're not doing anything? And then like this week, you and I were talking about like how busy we were with like different stuff going on, auditions, rehearsals. And I think another big reason we wanted to do this is because sometimes I feel like theater can put you, especially theater as an adult, can put you into this little space where you're like, I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm failing because I'm not doing enough, and like other people are like doing everything, you know. And I feel like something like this helps us to know that, I mean, I actively think about theater almost daily. I
Yeah.
think everyone who's in theater kind of does, but being able to voice our thoughts, I think, is very helpful to who we are as people, I believe, as well.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, owning our creative side to us. This is what we do. And this is going to be very fulfilling to us to create something and to share it with people. So one of the things that we want to make sure you all know who are listening, that our podcast, we are going to talk about things that, you know, interest us in theater, what we've seen in the past, what we see today, what things we would like to see in the future in theater industry. And that's local theater, that's professional theater, community, Broadway, regional, whatever. We're going to talk about it all. Sometimes we will have guests on here, maybe that have some insight into things that we don't know. But Terrence, Natalie, and I, although we are very like-minded, we come from different backgrounds, and each and three of us, we bring something unique to the table, and I think that's what makes us such a strong unit. And we hope that you all enjoy what we have to say, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments.
And like, definitely through this process, if you're listening, like, feel free to reach out, and like maybe we'll find a way for like a comment situation with like our email or something. But I want to like start doing like episodes where we involve like what other people want to talk about and want to say, and I think that'd be really cool. So definitely send it like what you're like, I wish that like I just want to hear people talk about this, you know, or like I just want to talk about the subject. I feel like that'd be a really cool thing to start to happen during this pod. Yeah.
Before we go, what is on the cusp of your minds right now? Like what, like, cool, this is something that I know we're going to talk about in our pod. What is on your mind?
What's on my mind? It was the Tonys this past Sunday. And on my personal Instagram, I don't know if anybody else saw, but I did my inaugural like review of Tony shows. And I had told Isaiah this. I was talking to one of my all-time favorite teachers earlier today, just to catch up and just talk. And I was telling her how like just as a Black queer artist specifically, it's kind of like it's tough out here, because noticing the lack of opportunity and the feedback you get from Broadway shows, or like shows where, okay, I'm talking about Ain't No Mo. This is the show I'm talking about. There's this beautiful show called Ain't No Mo that I'm still
let's not beat around the bush.
Let's
say it how it is.
There is this beautiful show called Ain't No Mo, and it was written by this awesome playwright named Jordan E. Cooper, the youngest playwright to ever have a show written for like on Broadway. And it opened at the beginning of December, and within 2 weeks it closed. And the show was about, in order to solve race relations in America, every Black person was given a one-way ticket back to Africa. And the show was about like, it was very much like, I talked to Natalie and Isaiah about this. It was very much, it reminded me of the Color Museum, where it was very much vignette. Each scene had nothing to do with each other, but the whole premise, it was really just a masterpiece. Like
it all connects.
Yeah, it were all connects at the end. And just like, talking about like, if you did have a one-way ticket, would you go? If you did go, what would you take with you? Like, if you would leave anything behind? And just like starting the conversation of like, what as Black people have we brought to this country forcibly? And just like about culture, just about lifestyle, and just like everything, and how we've kind of cultivated the American experience, and just seeing a show, like seeing so like myself represented in that show so much, and just seeing it like not do well because the American theater Broadway audience is just rich white people who don't really want to have those conversations of looking themselves in the mirror. So it's just like, for me, that show was just, it was so good. And then just seeing yourself and then just having it ripped apart from you was just
heart-wrenching.
so
Yeah.
tough. So that's what's on my mind right now.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the that's.
On
That's
Right.
That. Yeah. I would say what's on my mind right now, because I work a lot with kids, and my mind is always on the psychology of people. I'm really interested in how people develop in theater, how their bodies develop, how their mental develops in theater. And I want to do more research on that, and why theater brings people together. So here's the thing. I work with, I'm on the board with Summerstock Sage Theater Company here in Indiana. They are and basically an emerging artist collective for oh goodness, we start from elementary kids all the way now. We have an alumni program, so we have elementary kids all the way till college students and beyond. But basically there, I always talk about how humans have this unique ability to tell stories, to create culture, to create laws. We tell stories. So theater and stage performance is nothing crazy or out of the norm of the human condition. This is actually the natural progression. Of course, we're going to now tell stories as wide as we can to as much people as we can, to teach lessons and to challenge thoughts and change minds. So that's what I'm interested in.
Isaiah, I always think it's so beautiful how you combine psychology and theater, because it's very much where I come from with sociology and theater. But it's always so gorgeous to hear you talk about it, because you can just tell like you're just combining two things that you're so passionate about, and I feel like you're gonna have so many like beautiful things to say in your life about that. Like I cannot wait to see a book.
Yes, no,
But-
literally. It's almost like you went to school for both of those things
It's
at the same
almost
time.
as if you worked your butt off to get a double major. Literally insane. But something
You
that's
said
been
fuck majoring in. I was gonna say majoring with sex with Joan. You majored.
you majored in.
Joan.
Why did I? That's you both. Why was I in my kitchen like sex with Joan? I said, why is this in my brain? And I was like, oh,
That's why, because of us.
I know why.
Yeah.
And I stopped for a second. I looked in the mirror and I was like, and Joan's crazy brown eyes. Happy Pride. So something that's been in my mind, like the frontal cortex, has been. So I was very, very happy to see at least 2 bigger bodies winning Tony Awards. I feel like that is something that has not happened. And it was very validating as myself, just being a plus-sized woman in theater and seeing that. And it's obviously rare, but then there's that part of my brain where it's like, but then people talking about it afterwards of being like, see, we did this thing. Like, see, the problem's fixed now. Or like using bodies as a prop instead of actually like talking about like, no, like this is why these people specifically, Bonnie Milligan and Alex Newell, these people deserved these awards because of their talent. But I feel like often it's like, but these qualities, these other qualities. And I'm like, no, like, while that's important, they're more than just a bigger body. And so I think that that's what is frustrating, is when it starts to be like this thing of I don't know how to explain it, but
The problem's gone because these people
yes,
won and we gave them the recognition.
Yes.
Oh, we gonna get
'Cause
into
then-
it, honey. We gonna
yeah, because then it like I was like thinking in my head, and I was like, there's been so many auditions and so many shows I've been a part of where I've felt like my body was commented on in a way that was inappropriate, or was used in a way where it's like, but look, we cast like a plus size girl in this romantic lead, like look at that. And so sometimes I get a little bit like, nah, you know, how are people looking at like these situations? Because I'm like, as a plus size woman, I'm above and beyond happy, you know. And I love those two performers so much, and I think this Tony Awards has been like a jump in inclusivity in a huge way, and it's been amazing. I just hope that people know that that's not where it stops, and that we grow and we keep on learning, and we don't use people as props. We cast the best person. Like so I think that's what's been on the front of my mind, is happiness, but then also like what's next, I suppose.
Yes.
Right.
And how do we grow?
Yeah. I really like what you said there, because I often think about like how I phrase things when attaching an attribute to someone. Like,
Mhm.
I'm Isaiah, who happens to have a disability. I'm not I'm not disabled Isaiah, or I'm not just Black Isaiah. I'm Isaiah, who is African American. Like
Mhm.
there is, the way we phrase things is actually also important on how we see people on the stage. Because we don't want to see them as props.
Yeah,
And-
you have different file cabinets of who you are as a person, you know, and who I'm channeling as a person of like me, Natalie, who like likes Janelle Monáe, you know, like is also me, Natalie, who loves Titanic the musical. Like there's two different
Right.
girlies, but they're like all me, and I can be like multifaceted.
Right.
And I think us three, there's been different stories we have, which is part of the reason we had this conversation too, of like how people have viewed each of us in a different way, of like pre-guessing and pre-assuming. And
Right.
that just icks me out, I'd say, about the theater industry of all like media industries. But like I know theater the best because that's the one that I've been a part of the longest. So,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Truly.
Well, that is a little gist of how these podcasts are going to go. We're going to be
Yes.
talking about a lot of different things, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested, stay tuned, and we will be back with more. Yeah, that's us. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye.